Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're playing more of the Irresistible Attraction Seasonal Event, which is an alternate game mode in which whenever we play a unit, we will steal a random unit from our opponent's side of the board with the same amount of power. And today's deck is specially themed for the new Valentine's Day event, so let's go check it out. So today we'll be playing a Northern Realms Shieldwall deck that focuses on getting as many units on the board with shields as possible, and then using Roegner as a finisher to get boosted from all those shields. That's because Roegner will get boosted by 3 for every shield that he removes, regardless of whether it's on our side of the board or our opponent's side of the board. That means that in this event, even if our opponents steal our shielded units, it's still not that big of a deal. So we'll basically throw out all the bronze units with shields that we possibly can, or units that can give other units shields or spawn them in, all those types of things to maximize the total number of shields on the board. We can create an additional copy of one of those units with reinforcements, or similarly with the Operator, or with Queen Adalia. And then if we have Idarran on the board when we do that, then in some cases we can actually spawn in additional copies of those shielded units. Then we also have Keldar, who, although doesn't have a shield and doesn't create units that have shields, he will spawn in Witcher students every turn, which, when combined with the Griffin Witcher Adept, can give us a bunch of additional Griffin Witcher Adepts, which means more shields. Then we use Roegner as our humongous finisher, and because Roegner costs less than 9 provisions, we can bring him back with Renew as our finisher in round 2 or round 3 as well. So that's really all there is to it. Play a bunch of shields, play Roegner as your finisher, and then use Renew in round 2 or round 3 to repeat the whole thing. So not only is this deck really effective, it also fits extremely well with the theme of this Valentine's Day event. So let's go see it in action. Alright, so going up against Nilfgaard here, and they'll go first. Okay, so we have Roegner in hand here, which is of course our finisher. We just need to be kind of careful because with their leader ability, they could theoretically play Roegner, which would be a big issue. But other than that, we certainly have sources for shields. We would love to combine, Griffin Witcher Adept plus Keldar, but that might need to wait for round 3 in order to have Adrenaline 4 kick in. Other than that, if we're being picky, might get rid of Runeword. Not one of my preferred sources of additional shields in case they steal that mage we create. It might become a bit threatening. And then, not the biggest fan of Artificer. Yeah, they'll start with Eskel, which will get boosted up to a 7 at the end of their turn, which means we could steal that with the Lady of the Lake. So I think we probably do go that route. And we'll see if he ends up in our melee row. He does. That's nice, because he'll get boosted up to an 8 in that case, which is probably difficult for them to steal. And then they'll go Oneiro. Oh, no, they do have an 8. They do have an 8. It's a Nilfgaardian Knight. Okay, this time, though, it does end up in their range row, where Eskel will no longer get boosted, and they had to boost Lady of the Lake in the process, so that's kind of nice. Now let's go with Immortal Cavalry to get some more shields. And they'll go Duchess's Informant, so yes, they will try to steal one of them, but joke's on them. They are helping us right now. Because the more shields on the board, the more Roegner will get boosted, regardless of whether the shields are on our side or their side. And of course, if we wanted to, we could proceed to either use Immortal Cavalry or reinforcements to create even more of these guys. And steal one back. And while we're at it, we might even just use Lady of the Lake's ability on this Duchess's Informant to get even more shields out. Unless there's a card we are more concerned about giving a shield to. Maybe Keldar once we do eventually play him, but that might be something we wait to do in round 3, so sure, we'll use this here. Okay, then it's Furcart, which is a 3, so it will steal something. Then Royal Decree will steal Duchess's Informant, and they'll create another Duchess's Informant. Again, they're falling for our trap right now. More shields, the more boosted we will get. And we could still play another 3 with the Immortal Cavalry here. So I think that is probably what we go for, because nothing else right now would steal. So let's go for it. And steal some stuff back. Okay, they're using their leader ability. Thank goodness they did not get Roegner. I was going to say we might have been forced into using a relatively early Roegner just to avoid them having done that. But they'll steal our leader ability, which, I mean, if they want to use it, it's fine. It also helps us. And fortunately, we don't need to worry anymore about them taking Roegner and destroying all the shields and getting all the boosts rather than us. However, we don't really have a way to steal anything right now, which is unfortunate. So I think what we'll do is we'll go with Watchman, and we'll put it next to the Duchess's Informant, and if we still have it at the start of our next turn, then we'll give it a shield. They'll pass. Okay, so here's the thing. They think they have a really nice big lead here that we will not be able to catch them with just one play, but if we put down a shield here on the Duchess's Informant, and we might want to use a shield wall charge on this Watchman just to be absolutely certain that Roegner will be sufficient. So let's go for it. Then we show them why we made a point of baiting them into creating all these copies of the Immortal Cavalry by dropping Roegner, with which we will destroy all those shields and get a humongous boost, which, yes, is enough. So that means we will win round 1. Okay, so we already had Renew in our hand, so that's of course going to be the key for round 3, is to play this to get Roegner back at the end of the round as our finisher. We did play one more card than our opponent in round 1, so we are probably going to dry pass here, but if we're thinking long term, probably would prefer something other than the Megascope and or the Watchman and or Cintrian Artificer. So a Operator is another way to create a copy of shielded units, but we will dry pass here. And what we want to make sure of is that they don't do something to get rid of Roegner or play him out of our graveyard. It's unlikely, but nothing here that would threaten that. Okay, and we drew into more sources of giving shields to allies, but cards that don't directly provide shields themselves, so I'm not as big a fan of those. That's why I'm thinking we get rid of probably both of these Cintrian Artificers. And, well, Watchman is functionally almost the same thing, so not a big fan of that either. Megascope is somewhat similar in that way, so maybe we dump that and get another Megascope. Okay, so a round 3 hand, a little on the weak side, but as long as they don't do something to take Roegner from us or banish him from our graveyard, we should be fine. Okay, so with a 4 power unit there, we can steal that. We have several ways to do so. Our biggest combo, actually, in this round is going to be using the Griffin Witcher Adept plus Keldar, because Keldar will create additional Witcher students, which we can use as fodder for transforming into Witcher Adepts. And since we have a couple of these, and actually have another source of getting them here, even if one of them gets stolen, we should still have a somewhat reliable way of getting them back. But let's begin by going with the Cintrian Artificer, and although this is a 4, if we played in the range row, we will still steal this, as you're about to see, because the way that the game decides when you steal is based on the number when you play the Cintrian Artificer, so 4, and only then does it get boosted by formation. And then it's Trish Telekinesis, which will steal the Aristocrats. And Watchman is fine. I mean, as long as they create the shields, then that works for us. But something tells me they may have figured out that that is not a good idea. So now let's go with the Operator and use this to create additional Griffin Witcher Adepts on both our side and their side, which gives us additional fodder to steal and start setting up Keldar. It's Brothans, which will be one of, if not their biggest cards. And more Watchmen, and are they going to use the order abilities here? It looks like they did give Brothans a shield. So now let's go with our other Watchman. And we'll steal back the Operator. So let's give a shield to this Duchess's Informant while we still can. Then it's Imperial Diplomacy, which will steal that Duchess's Informant back. And yeah, you'll want to make more shields. That works for us. And they are doing it. Even after we played Roegner in round 1. They must not know we have a plan to use Renew, of course. Okay, so I think now what we do is, well, let's give ourselves more shields. And then perhaps it's time to use one of our sources of getting Griffin Witcher Adepts. So let's do that here, perhaps with Kaer Seren. And yes, I think we are going to go for the Adept. And steal an Adept as well, which is useful, because we want to make sure that we at least have one once we get Keldar down. Okay, then it's Gascon, which will probably be to set up a double steal. And once they play this Sapper, that is exactly what it will do. Giving their units more shields. It works for us. It certainly works for us. Okay, so now I suppose we just play additional Griffin Witcher Adepts. Increase the total shield count. We're going to want to use Megascope relatively soon, though, because we want to have time to spawn that in. Okay, it's Experimental Remedy into a Duchess's Informants, which means they're probably going to get forced into playing additional shields. Okay, so now, of course, it is time to use Keldar, and a little concerned about playing him in the melee row because Roegner is row-locked there. There is more room there right now. We'll leave it at this, and why don't we use Shieldwall? We could do it on Keldar if we're concerned about him getting stolen at 4, which is pretty easy to steal, just that we have a whole bunch of 4-power units. So hopefully that means that, what, there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 in 5 chance, 20% chance of them stealing him. So we are hoping that, well, that doesn't happen. And then it's Menno, which actually can steal that Witcher student, oddly enough. But they may start to clog their rows here. They're going to steal back this Duchess's Informant as well. And they are going to get a 4. We want to keep Keldar. We kept Keldar. That's good. So yeah, they are about to run out of space. And perhaps for that reason, we could go with something that is not going to steal one of their... Well, actually, everything is going to steal something, because even special cards will steal this 1-power Duchess's Informant, which, in case I didn't mention, is in fact a bug. But we'll go for it here. I think we probably do Runeword, because that way we can automatically spawn in an additional Witcher student to give us an immediate thing for these Griffin Witcher Adepts to use. So then we actually don't really want anything that is very good here, because we don't want shields to get destroyed. Certainly don't want that. And we don't want our opponent to steal this and then start destroying all those shields either. Don't want the Banard student to destroy shields. Meditating Mage, the resilience is irrelevant, but all we're playing this for is the shields. All we care about is the shields. So then we convert you, because now that means one more unit with a shield. We do need to make sure we go with Megascope on our next turn, otherwise we're going to run out of time for this. Okay, it's a Nilfgaardian Knight. Can they set up a steal? They cannot, fortunately. So let's go Megascope, as we were saying, to create, it's probably a Griffin Witcher Adept. Technically speaking, you could go Watchman, but yeah, I suppose that is actually slightly better. Let's, in that case, just make sure that we put it next to someone who needs a shield. Well, actually, with all of our shield wall charges remaining, I think we're going to be fine with the shield, so I think we actually will stick with the Griffin Witcher Adept in that case. And once again, transform. Okay, then it's Ardfian Tortoise, which is a 7. So yes, that was a longer-term plan to set up that steal. So that was fairly well done, but we will, of course, steal something here with this Griffin Witcher Adept. So let's go this route. Steal you, and we'll use you. Convert that Witcher student. And this will trigger here, giving us another Griffin Witcher Adept. They're using their shield wall charges. Did they use them on people that did or did not already have shields? I know Brothans did. Triss may not have. They did use 2 charges on her. Okay, you're going to destroy Keldar, I assume? Honestly, I miss who you hit with Vilgefortz, although we did get a Kaedweni Cavalry, which actually is particularly good because it has a shield, and it gets boosted when we lose the shield, and that's, of course, what is about to happen here. But before we use Renew to get Roegner, let's convert you into another Griffin Witcher Adept. Let's, I guess, use the Meditating Mage ability. Sure. 1 turn of Vitality. Amazing. Then use Shieldwall to put shields on whoever does not yet have a shield, namely Keldar, and looks like this Duchess's Informant. So then we use Renew to get Roegner back in the melee row, and we have a lot of ground to make up here, but there are a lot of units with shields, so will this suffice? Yes, it will. So there you have it. We'll take the win. Alright, so going up against Syndicate here. And we'll go first. Okay, so we just want to maximize our total number of shields in this round and in the next round as well. We also want to make sure that we have a way to get Roegner. Now, of course, since we're going first, we do have Cursed Scrolls. That is one guaranteed way to get him. But I think we probably dump one of these Megascopes. And Immortal Cavalry is one of our best sources of shields because it gives us 2 per card. Then let's dump the other Megascope. And let's dump the Watchman. Okay, so let's begin using the Operator here to create additional copies of one of our shielded units. So we'll do that to create, I suppose, additional Immortal Cavalry. Okay, they're going to go with a Sly Seductress, which is a bit of an engine that we would ideally like to steal, so let's use one of our shielded units that has 4 power, like the Kaedweni Cavalry, to steal this from them. And we could go with Cursed Scroll here, just to make sure that we have something like Oneiromancy, which would be nice to have in hand. So why don't we go that route? And then dump, although Runeword does give us a way to get shielded units, not the biggest fan of creating mages, because if those mages do get stolen, they start to become dangerous. So I think we get rid of that. Okay, then it's another Sly Seductress. And we could do this all day, so we will. Okay, they'll go Passiflora Peaches. They do not yet have coins, so this is not yet an engine. Alright, well, now they do. So now let's go Oneiromancy to get ourselves a 5-power unit to try to steal one of these back. It's not the end of the world if we were to play one of our other shielded units, but we have the Watchman, so I suppose we'll go that route. And let's put it next to the Operator, because the Operator does not yet have a shield, and so we could potentially give one to that Operator. And unfortunate that we stole Peaches. We were definitely preferring to get the Seductress, because we don't have the coins for Peaches right now. And then it's Kalkstein, who's also 5. They'll take Peaches back. But once one of these cards gets up to a 7, we could then steal it with Lady of the Lake, so I'm not too concerned about that. Why don't we instead focus on stealing this Immortal Cavalry or this Kaedweni Cavalry? Let's go actually save the Griffin Adept in case we get Keldar in a later round, so we'll do Immortal Cavalry here. And then we will use Watchman to give a shield to the Operator. Okay, then it's Townsfolk. But they don't yet have a great source of coin generation, so that's not a big issue. But now that they have a couple of 7-power units, let's use Lady of the Lake to steal one of them. Okay, and good, we got the Sly Seductress. Again, that is preferable to Peaches, because we don't have the coins to power up Peaches. And they'll pass, so we don't even need to use Roegner in this round. So, sure, we'll take the win, I suppose. It's just not the way we thought we were going to win round 1. Okay, so we draw into round 2 of Oneiromancy. We get Roegner directly in our hands. We don't need to use Oneiro or Amphibious Assault to get him. We draw into Runeword, which, as I said previously, is perhaps one of our worst shielded unit generators, because if our opponent does steal that mage, it could be dangerous in their hands. So let's get rid of this. And Megascope, I mean, could work, but is probably also not one of our better options. Keldar, that's the card we were hoping to get to combine with the Griffin Adept. We did, however, play one more card than our opponent in round 1, so I think we probably do pass here. Okay, they'll go with a Witch Hunter Executioner, which of course doesn't matter much in this round, but does perhaps indicate they might use bounties in the future. Okay, so we draw into, most notably, Idarran, which combined with Keldar and a Griffin Adept is extremely potent, so I love that. Although we need to be a little wary of spawning so many units that we might run out of space for Roegner, so just need to be mindful of that. We also still have Renew, and this was, of course, planned to be our way of getting Roegner back after playing him in round 1, but we didn't need to do that, so we could still use it to get one of our bronze shielded units back, so it's not the end of the world. Let's dump Megascope instead, and I'm not a huge fan of Watchmen. Okay, it's Passiflora. So that means more Peaches. And quick note, although Cintrian Artificer does have formation, which means if we play him in the range row, he will get boosted up to a 5, the order of operations is that the game first checks for the power of the unit that we play, and then boosts for formation, so that means Cintrian Artificer range row does not work to steal Peaches right now. However, we could use Oneiromancy to get the Watchman, and that would work. Okay, then it's Adriano the Mink. That means another Seductress, and they generate some coins from their scenario. And we have several ways in which to steal this Seductress, so we'll probably go that route. We could play an early Keldar now that it has been buffed, and we gain a Witcher student anytime we use a special card. He is a better early play than he used to be. It's just that, as I said before, combining Keldar with Idarran, although very strong, will take up tons of space, so we don't want to go too far and not have room for Roegner. So let's play it simple here. We'll go Cintrian Artificer, and just to prove my point before, we'll play it in the range row, where we'll get boosted, but it will still steal this Seductress. And why don't we give a shield to that Seductress? Because this Cintrian Artificer counts as a 4 when the game considers what it's going to steal, if anything, and then the formation gets it, the boost. So we'll use Peaches to trigger the last round of their scenario. And now let's use the Griffin Witcher Adept. Steal one of these cards back, and once again, we'll give some shields to these units. And you could even make the case for using our leader ability to give shields and a little bit of a boost, make it harder for them to get stolen. It's not a bad option. And then it's Bincy. Okay, so their coin generation just became a lot more meaningful. So let's try to steal her with something like, yes, Keldar now. Although we do currently have more room in our melee row, that is the row that we are more concerned about because Roegner is row-locked to the melee row, so I think we still go Keldar ranged row here, just to play it a little bit safe. And we do get Bincy. Of course, she ends up in the melee row, which is not where she can use her ability. Not that that matters too much for us, because we are not going to generate coins. It's just that we don't want them to be getting points when they do so. So, yes, perhaps it is worth giving Bincy a shield with our leader ability charge here, because presumably it's harder for them to steal a 6 than it is for them to steal a 4, although since we had 2 4s, they might have stolen Keldar rather than Bincy, but we'd also like to keep Keldar. Okay, they're going to go with a Dire Mutated Hound, which is a 4, so it will steal Keldar, which does kind of stink, because that means we lost our Witcher Adept plus Keldar combo, which is now not even possible for us to steal back, which I was going to say might have been reason for us to use Renew to try to make that steal, but no, it's not even an option anymore. And perhaps most significantly, that now means Idarran is not nearly as powerful. We can still combine him with something like Reinforcements, so it's not the end of the world. We probably do play Idarran now, because they do have some 6s. That's not really the one that I wanted, though. So, okay, we'll deal with it. And then it's Imke, so there's their coin generator. And that is what would have given Bincy a lot of boosts, but we've at least limited them to a certain extent by taking her away. And now, if we go Renew, we have a couple of options. We could either go with Immortal Cavalry, which is just the most straightforward, maximize number of shields option, or we could go Lady of the Lake, which, at a 7, would steal the Sly Seductress, so maybe we go that route. Even though the Immortal Cavalry do have a bit of a synergy with Idarran, let's still go this route. Okay, then it's Savola, who is a 6, which might steal something important. It is Bincy. They do get her in the range row. Oh, they lucked out. They lucked out big time. Alright, so that means they have some relatively powerful engines here. Of course, in addition to summoning the Frightener. However, we can actually still steal something here. If we go Amphibious Assault, and we get a Griffin Witcher Adept, and I believe this will be a 9, which we can then use to steal that Peaches. And then while we're at it, let's just give out some more shields. Okay, then it's a Sea Jackal, so that's their spender. And now what we do is we finally take advantage of having Idarran here, by going with the Immortal Cavalry, which, because it spawns in that second copy, means Idarran triggers. Then it's a Witch Hunter. Don't really have much in the way of synergies for that at the moment. Okay, now we use reinforcements on the Immortal Cavalry to create even more shielded units. We should still have space here in the melee row for Roegner on our last turn as our finisher, but just in case they might swipe one of our units here, let's put some shields on our non-shielded units, like, say, Idarran. Probably also a little bit harder for them to steal an 8 than it is a 6, but who knows what his finisher is. Okay, it's Graydon. Okay, so they're just trying to destroy our biggest unit, and they actually do steal a bit in the process. Alright, and that means they have over a 30-point advantage here. Fortunately, though, we did do a pretty good job of creating a ton of shields, which means Roegner will be a really big finisher here. Before we play him, let's use our last round of leader ability charges here on, shouldn't really matter as long as it's someone who doesn't yet have a shield. And then we play him, and we see how big he is. And the answer is, certainly big enough. So there's a look at a new Northern Realms deck designed for the Irresistible Attraction seasonal event. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and leave a comment down below to let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions you'd like us to experiment with next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.